What's going on, everybody? It's the Hook Cam back again with another draft class recap. Today we are checking on my favorite team, the New England Patriots, and just a wild offseason for New England. And obviously the number of key players that left, everybody from obviously Brady, Kyle Van Noy, Jamie Collins, just a slew of cornerstones of that franchise that left. And really who they signed in this offseason or who they didn't sign really kind of showed what their emphasis would be on this draft. And I think that a lot of people assumed that receiver, maybe tight end, was going to be their first option in the draft, and they traded back, which is very classic New England. And then they go and they take a safety with that pick, and I'll get into what I think that he brings to the table. Before I do that, though, I would like to give a quick plug to my channel, The Hook Cam. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. It would mean the world to me if you would do so. If you could also hit that like button on this video, that would also mean the world to me, as well as to Jackson Kruger Sports. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. It would mean the world to both of us. We're both just pumping out content left and right. Fun time for this NFL offseason. So, with all that being said, let's dive into a little bit of this film, starting things off. Every time a Patriots fan is watching a draft, that first round comes around, and I always tell myself, don't get excited, because they're probably going to trade out. And lo and behold, what happens? They trade out. And I was hot. There's a live stream of me. I said butthurt. I'm butthurt. Still was. And then they go and they take Kyle Duggar, the second round, 37th overall pick. And I think all of us were kind of like, who is this kid? And I had heard about him just because you do some of your pre-draft stuff and, checking out a little bit of film here and there. You kind of see he's the hidden gem of the draft. Usually hidden gems aren't guys that go in the second round. Those are guys that goes, fourth, fifth round. And there are these keys, and they have these phenomenal attributes where they're fast, they're quick, they're speedy. Well, Kyle Duggar, I really do think that he is a hidden gem in this draft, and I do think he's going to fit right into the New England system. And I'm sure that there'll be a number of bios for who Kyle Duggar is and his story. Right now, I'm just going to look at his play. And he went to Lenoir-Rhyne out in one of the Carolinas, I believe. And when you watch film of Kyle Duggar, this kid just glides through the field. And yeah, he's playing Division II, I understand that, but still, there's on-field speed that you just can't coach that this kid has. And it seems like every single time he's making a tackle on film, the ball carrier never falls forward. They're always falling backwards. And we look at this play, and this is one of those plays to me where you really can see his on-field speed, right? And here he is right here. This offense is running a veer, and I don't want to get into the schematics of it, but essentially this running back's got a lane right here, and it looks like it's going to be a 98-yard touchdown. But just watch Kyle Duggar just close on this kid like it's no big deal. Like we're at a track meet. I mean, I'm telling you, this dude's on-field speed is next level. Ran a 4.49 at the combine, 6'1", 215 pounds, I believe. Very, very similar to a Patrick Chung, 2 inches taller than Patrick Chung, though. So I'm really interested to see what Kyle Duggar brings to this Patriots defense. To me, he's a guy who's going to be a special teams kid to start, and he's going to be kick return, punt return. He'll be a gunner on punt. He'll be running down the field as a gunner on kickoff. He's going to have to contribute in special teams to begin with, but I think that his potential is through the roof, and I think that he is a guy who's going to kind of take over that Patrick Chung role where he's in the box, right? He's in the box, he's playing run defense, he's got his run fits, he's manning up against tight ends. I think that he can do all of that and be very successful with it. So Kyle Duggar, obviously the first pick for the Patriots. I like it. I think that there's a lot of potential with this pick, and he could be a guy who is a longtime Patriot and kind of one of those cliche Belichick draft picks who no one knows about. They get drafted, and a couple years later, they're dominating the league. So moving on to the next pick for the Patriots, staying in the second round, 60th overall, we got Josh Uche out of Michigan. And again, the theme of the draft with the Patriots was versatility. And we look at Kyle Duggar, and Kyle Duggar, obviously a very versatile football player defensively. Same thing with Josh Uche. And Uche reminds me of a more refined Kyle Van Noy when he came into the league. Playing at that edge spot, he plays a little bit off the ball in a Mike or Will position. But overall, really what you look at is just this athleticism. And you look at this play against Maryland right here, and yeah, it's a little bit of a broken play, but still the fact that he's able to come upfield, step the wrong way, and then rocker step to get completely vertical, right? They're supposed to hand this rock off. He misses it and he's going to run this way, the quarterback. We rocker step, get upfield and make a play on it. That's pretty impressive. And this kid has a lot of athletic ability, a lot of athletic skill. It's going to be very interesting to see how he fits into this New England system, because there's a lot that he does well. He does a great job squeezing when there's a pull coming. When he notices that pull, he squeezes the gap. Does a great job playing as an off-ball linebacker and closing. This dude's closing speed, again, is unreal. I think that he can spy the quarterback, and you look at the quarterback position, obviously it's getting much more mobile. There's a lot of dudes in the NFL. You look at a guy like Josh Allen. Josh Allen can kill you for 70 yards rushing if he really wants to. So a guy like Josh Uche definitely going to help with that if he's playing off the ball or lined up at that edge position. Now moving on to their next pick, Alabama, Anfernee Jennings. Lined up as an edge defender is what they're calling him as, and yeah, that's exactly where I saw him as, kind of that 2-point stand-up edge guy. He fits right into what New England wants to do. Again, this is like that more of a heavier, this is going to be to the strong side of the formation, right? Lined up over a tight end maybe, or lined up on a tackle who he can take because he's a little bit bigger, a little bit thicker, and I think he fits right into what New England wants to do. And this to me is the most pro-ready guy when you start looking at the Patriots draft picks. I think that he's big, he's thick, does a great job with his pass rush. You look here, a quick little swipe of the his outside hand to the elbows of that tackle. Really good job from Jennings on this play, and he did this time and time again in his career at Alabama, right? And this kid does a really good job of shedding blocks, and that's kind of one of the big things that I look at when I start to look at defensive players is, do they do a good job of either A, eating up a block so that somebody else can make a tackle and understanding that defensive scheme, or are they B, just trying to shed blocks and they're just a honey badger out there trying to get to the football in all cases. And that's kind of what I see with Anfernee Jennings. Does a good job of getting off blocks, getting to a ball carrier, and making a good play. Now moving to this next pick and trying to speed this thing up a little bit, Devin Asiasi from UCLA. You talk about experience at the tight end spot. Over the last couple of seasons, UCLA, yes, they hired Chip Kelly a couple years ago, but before that, they had a rotating door at the offensive coordinator position. So Asiasi, I think, has some great experience there. He also went to Michigan, so he knows about putting his hand in the dirt and blocking power, run blocking, all that sort of stuff. But again, I think that what he does very well is his yards after the catch. And you look at his game against USC, it just popped off in a rivalry game, and that's definitely something that sticks out to me when I'm looking at film. How does he do in the biggest games? Here's a good example of him just running this in route, right, breaking this defender off, coming upfield, get separation, which was obviously such a big deal for Patriots receivers last year, but creating that separation, crisp at the top of the route, that's what they're looking for. Again, here we see that same sort of deal, and again, we see tight ends in the Patriots offense just attack the middle of the field time and time again. This defender's trying to wall him off. He's not supposed to let him get this clean break into the middle of the field. Does a good job working right over the middle and picking up good yardage, and that's against Utah, who's a good football team this year. Moving on, again, they go Dalton Keene from Virginia Tech. This kid, Keene, played a little bit of H, a little bit of Y, did a little bit of everything in this offense, came out of the backfield. Do I see him as a clear-cut James Devlin replacement? No, because I don't think that he's going to run block the same way that Devlin does, and it doesn't make sense to go and draft a James Devlin replacement when you sign Vitale and you have a guy like Jacob Johnson on the roster. It just doesn't. But I think that this dude out of the backfield, you're looking at 12 personnel, maybe that second tight end in who's lined up as that wing. People call it a UHY. There's a number of different labels for that position, but I see Keene kind of being that guy, right? Rolling out of the backfield, good after the catch. There's a lot of things that he does bring to the game, but I think it's going to be between him and Asiasi. It's going to be a battle for that next tight end spot. Who's going to be that next tight end in the New England offense? Because we know it's very, very clear that was missing last year from their offense. Moving on now to another. So in between this pick, they picked Justin Rohrwasser from Marshall. Solid kicker out of Marshall. He had a number of good kicks in inclement weather. That seemed to be the big reason why they drafted Rohrwasser. I don't want to get into too much kicking stuff with him because I personally just don't know about it, but from looking at his numbers, looks like it was a good pick. Moving on to the next pick in the 5th round, Michael Onwenu from Michigan. Big dude. This guy is thick. I mean, I think he weighs probably 350. I can't remember exactly what his weight was, but it's up there. But the thing that I like about him is that he pulls well. And you look at some of this tape from Florida, and he's pretty quick on his feet. I think he does a good job of coming off late to linebackers when they're blocking inside zone and power. The dude's definitely got something. Here's a really good pull from him against Florida, playing at this right guard position right here. And again, just I love the feet with it, right? You got to have quick feet to play O-line. Great pull left, hit left. Good job working this guy right out of the picture. Really good job from him, and I saw this time and time again when watching his film at Michigan. I think that he's pretty quick. He does a good job of working on inside zone. He's got a little nasty in him, all things that are going to fit right into this New England system. Now, in this play specifically, getting a little too top heavy here to try and move this guy out of the way, but again, you love the nastiness, you love the finish from him, and I just saw time and time again on film him doing a good job of finishing off blocks, being in the right position, and moving well for a guy who's that size. Yeah, he needs a little bit of work with his pass pro, absolutely, but that's been a theme of every offensive lineman I've seen out of this draft. So Onwenu, definitely a depth guy to see, you know, what happens with Joe Thuney, what happens with Shaq Mason. Shaq Mason, I think, is the only Patriot signed through 2023, so definitely going to be some chances for Onwenu to go and make a splash on that Patriots offensive line. Now to this next pick, we got Justin Herron from Wake Forest here, and this kid I really liked. The more I watched this film, the more I liked what I saw. Again, he does get a little bit skinny, but I do love this kid's finish. He finishes blocks well. He's very nasty when he's when he's going down there in the trenches, and I think that he's going to fit with what New England wants to do. Again, here's a really good example of them blocking. It looks to me like this is going to be a wide zone, working out on this defensive end. I love how he fires that inside arm, right, and we're just trying to move this cat out of the way. That's more on the back than it is on Herron, right? There's a good job blocking from him. We just got to get this dude moving more towards the sidelines. Definitely a lot to polish with his game, but a guy who I think definitely will fit into with what New England wants to run. Pass pro wise, I loved his feet. I think he's in the right position a lot of times, active with his hands. All good things that you like to see from a rookie offensive lineman. So we'll see how he ends up fitting into this New England offense. Moving on to the last couple of picks here, we got Cash Maluea, I believe is how you say his last name. I'm probably butchering that, and I'm very sorry if I am. But to me, what Cash looked like, I'm just going to stick with Cash, is he looked like a special teams guy to me. And he definitely lights his hair on fire. He gets after it. He's fast on the field, all of that. His game as a true linebacker definitely needs some work, definitely a little bit more of a bigger body. I think he could have a little bit better nose for the football, but as far as reading and reacting, I think he does a good job, and he's never given up on plays, and that's definitely something that you love to see from a linebacker. So like I said, definitely a special teams guy, but I think definitely is somebody who in the future could make a splash. So moving on to this next pick, Dustin Woodard. Some people loved this pick, some people hated it. I mean, I saw people posting Pro Football Focus stats and all that stuff. I'm not a big Pro Football Focus guy. To me, Woodard needs a lot of work. From the film that I saw, he was catching a lot of blocks. So as he was snapping, he was receiving a lot of those hits, and I just didn't see that dominant center force. And again, you're probably not going to pick a guy who's a super dominant center in the 7th round, but obviously there's stuff to work with there. But to me, I think he's got a lot to work on and a lot to go with. He does put himself in a good position a lot of the times, which is possibly why he's getting high grades in PFF stuff, because they, I think, have a tendency to look more position than actual fundamentals of blocking. But he puts himself in the right position, which is definitely something to be said for that. But at the end of the day, I think that he needs a lot of polish to his game. Now, the Patriots infamously signed a ton of undrafted guys, and I don't know all of them. I have watched film on a good chunk of them, and one guy who really stuck out to me was Nick Coe from Auburn. This dude just seems like a freak, and he is my dark horse to make this roster and to make a splash here. He's playing against LSU, and again, one of the big things that I love about defensive linemen, something that's going to stick out to me, are we creating that separation so that we can get off blocks and make a play? And he did this a lot throughout the season with Auburn, and I'm kind of surprised that he went undrafted. I think that he had some off-field issues, but this dude is physical, he's fast, he's mean, somebody who I think could fit right into that, obviously that end position for the Patriots with his hand in the dirt, kind of like a Dietrich Wise, little bit of what like a Trey Flowers was for New England, just because of his size and athleticism. I really do think that this kid's going to find a home in New England, and I hope he does, and I hope he thrives in that system. So anyway, guys, that's all I got for you today. Probably a little bit longer of a video, a little bit more in-depth, because obviously I'm a fan of the Patriots. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, if you could hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, it would mean the world to me, as well as to Jackson Kruger Sports. I know that we are both putting out a ton of content right now. So with all that being said, guys, that's all I got for you today. I'll be back with some more draft class recaps in the future, but until then, guys, stay safe, have a good one, and I'll see you next time.